Are you see?
Yes, everything going smoothly.
Okay. Okay, first start. Hello everyone, my name is Thidet Yamsai of Power Plant Development Planning Division, Electricity Generating Authority of Thailand. Today I would like to share you about the ambition development of hydro floating solar hybrid firm. Probably about EGAT. We are state enterprise who responsible for electricity utility. We have a valuable type of power plant across 15,789 megawatt, about 35% of Thailand power system. And we also transmission system operator main voltage level of 500, 130, and 115 kilovolt. We manage the purchasing. We manage the purchasing power from independent power producer or IPP, small power producer or SPP, and from neighboring countries such as Laos and Malaysia or contracted capacity of 27,582 megawatt, about 65% of Thailand power system. EGAT invest in related power business that are EGAT International Group, large Eco Group, ECAP Company, EGAT Diamond Service Company. Thailand is like other developing country who need electricity for rolling up the business, which ramp up the peak demand trend every year. For the energy security that is independent of fossil fuel in Thailand, our development plan, or PDP 2018, government set the renewable energy portion 30% of Thailand power system at 2037. At new capacity to PDP is 18,176 megawatt. It get reliable for government to develop hydro solar of 2,725 megawatt in reservoir of EGAT hydro power plant. For developing the hydro floating solar hybrid, we use three main concepts that are cost, technology, social, and environment. Of course, combining solar to the hydro power plant help to utilize existing assets such as reservoir, substation, open power line, etc., and developing bigger projects make the cost of electricity going down. With technology, it's possible to add more reliable renewable energy to the grid via the better forecasting and energy management system. Because the hydro floating solar hybrid located in the hydro power plant reservoir, the material of the floating body or pontoon shall be the food grade and no harmful contaminant. Moreover, EGAT must be compliant with Code of Practice or COP and Environmental Safety Assessment or ESA for prevention and mitigation the environment impact. The environmental will be real-time monitored by using advanced technology. All of the concept lead to integrated renewable firm power system or IRFPS by using technology to reduce variability and uncertainty of renewable energy. The IRFPS development plan is short-term, is to increasing flexible by using hybrid system that's by renewable energy to renewable energy. In mid-term, increasing stability and reliability using smart technology and microgrid solution. In long term, controlling renewable energy security need a renewable energy center and forecasting system with demand response. The energy management system or EMS is the key controlling of the hydro floating solar hybrid. The Thailand power system, there are 3 peak daily, normally using the hydro power to support that peak. When the solar hybrid with hydro, we can save water to support early in the evening peak, which is cheaper and higher demand. In the daytime, with more sunlight, it generates power from solar. The hybrid system also generating power as off-grid demand by using solar and hydro together. Cloudy period, electricity generation managed and balanced by EPS generate power as off-grid demand by using solar and hydro together too. When no sunlight, the reserve water will be used for power generation. In PDP 2018, the hydro floating solar hybrid project are planned 16 projects in 9 dams. Total 2,725 megawatt. Project located at Bhumipol Dam, 778 megawatt. The pilot is at Silinthorn Dam, 45 megawatt. Contracted floating solar connect to the existing line of 115 kilovolt substation. The project plan is commercial operation date at the end of this year. For summarize, the floating solar system is a lot of benefits that utilize existing utility more flexible and manage more power from renewable energy, new landmark energy learning for community, water resource management for sustainability, reduce water evaporation loss, and reduce greenhouse gas in power generation, including stimulate PV market in Thailand. Lastly, large floating solar project quite a new thing in Thailand, and it needs a strong direction from the policymaker and regulatory side. On my presentation, thank you so much for your attention.
Yes.
Can you see my slide? Okay.
Yes, and your face.
Okay, and nice and good afternoon, everybody, and nice to meet you. And I really happy to be here to give the overview Thailand's renewable energies and Thailand floating solar landscape. Today, my contents of history of the renewable energy. And is I will tell you that Mr. Tidet.
Hello,
First,
Mr. Patmit. We cannot hear you very clearly. Could you please maybe try to close your microphone?
Oh, yes. And
yes, now it's clear. Thank you.
Yeah, right. Okay. And the first I will tell you about the solar hybrid, right? And finally, I will summarize about the future of EGAT floating solar.
Dear attendees, could you please mute it by yourself if we are joining this webinar?
And I will continue. Right? And okay, in this slide you can see development into the T are the last hydro age. And secondly is the RE promotion age, and the now is in the integrated firm RE and distributed generation age, right? As you see in the left hands, you can see the renewable energy was started in Thailand with the 140 megawatt with the Bhumipol dams, and at that time the dam built for the multi-purpose dams, which are the agriculture, electricity generations, and maintain the water balance in the river. And after that, in 1986 to 1991, the pump storage hydro was introduced. This idea is configurations of the two water reservoirs at the different elevations that can generate power and keep some energies in the water storage. And after the large hydro, we have the 14 projects about the 2,300 megawatts. And after that, to the move to the RE promotion age, right? The governments of Thailand have the wrong recognize the importance of the alternative, especially in the renewable energy sources, but also realized that there was a need to introduce the program in support of renewable energy developments. And I try to summarize it. We have 3 steps. The first step is called the adder. The first incentive is the adder is during 2006 to 2013. The governments introduced the adder, or we call the premiums in feed-in premiums, the policy for the VSPP and SPP for all renewable energy generations. And after that, in 2011, the government introduced, we call the feed-in tariff. The feed-in tariff is government introduced the competitive bidding scheme with the FIT and set the selling price. And this aim is allowing the market to determine the real price at which renewable electricity should be paid. This would be help the government to minimize the risk of the over-subsidizing renewable energy projects. And after the renewable promotion age, we can increase the proportion of renewable energies. You can see the solar power plant is up to the about 3,000 megawatt, and wind also increases about the 722 megawatt, something like that. But in this time, the RE, they have the limitations. So in this state, they would like to promote some hybrid firms that I will explain to you later on. And for the EGAT, we also have the PDP, right? We can promote some EMS or the battery storage as well. So for the PDP, that's the Mr. Tidet and about in the PDP at the end of 2037, the proportions of the renewable targets will be 30%. You can see this box. For the proportions of the renewable energy plan is 18 gigawatt, and for the EGAT proportions, we will responsible for the hydro floating solar 2,725 megawatt. This one in the first project now is under construction. We call the hydro floating solar at Sinton. The capacity is about 45 megawatt. So the will at the end of this year, but because of the COVID issue, maybe some delay a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 months. And now I would like to show you, because of the limitations of the renewable energy, right? So the hybrid system, this is the solution for the reduce or eliminate the, and I told you before, the hybrid system is combinations of the hydro energy and floating solar energies and controlled by EMS, or we call the energy management system. That I told you, the hydro energy, they have limitations. Why? Because at the beginning that I mentioned, the dams was built for the multi-purpose, such as the use for the water storage, flood control or irrigation and electricity generation. It means that we cannot use all of the water in reservoir to produce electricity, right? We need to keep it for another purpose. For the solar energies, they have also limitation that I told you. The solar can produce when they have a sunlight. So how to break through these problems, how to break through this limitation. So EGAT have the idea to combine together, combine it and manage it by EMS, and they can utilize existing facility as well. That the Mr. Tidet mentions about the development guideline. So the first is the cost. Cost shall be competitive cost. We achieve affordable cost by economy of scale. In this project have to big enough to get the project is cheap, right? By utilize existing assets. It means we can utilize existing assets, water surface, substation, and transmission line. We use them in the maximum capacity. And second is the technologies. It make the system more reliable. As the renewable energy is not stable, right? We design with the integrated renewable firms power system or IRFPS. The technologies can reduce the variability and uncertainty of renewable energies. And the last one is social and environment. The project should have minimized impacts on the social environment. So we will have the public participations, inform the communities around the projects, and we also decide to use eco-friendly materials and add the exercise the real-time monitoring for the prompt response to the impacts. Yeah. And now I would like to some idea. In the future, the hybrid power plant will create more and stability in electricity generation. It will be designed with the technology, or maybe we will integrate the AI. It can enable predicting power generation and health energy efficiently. The concept of the development is divided into the three phases. First is the short term, the new flexibilities of the power generations. To combine hydropower and solar power for the hybrid. And the medium term is the build security of the power generations, designing to combine the hybrid system with smart technology, such as the energy storage system and AI technologies. And in long term, this is our proposed. It means create the renewable energy control center to enable energy security. And this center will manage RE power plants across the country with one platform. So I would like to show you some idea that we have idea about that. So this one you can see we will have the weather stations. The information or the data will come from the satellite data and the local weather station to calculate it, to analyze the big data to generate the accuracy generations output. So it means EMS function, they can regulate the power generation. Just a moment. The regulate power generation and analyze all data for the forecasting plannings and optimize generation under the variance condition. EMS can regulate, analyze, and optimize. So it means they can control and monitoring at the real time. So this picture I will show you in the future. In the future, that we make a plan to have the control RE control center. So AI will help to manage energy efficiency and reduce the cost electricity generations for the renewable energies. Hybrid power plants consists of hydro, solar, and batteries. And AI will help analyze the data for the planning, managing of the power generation, such as the optimized energy yields and energy management and water forecast. And for the RE control centers, we collect the big data from the each hybrid. That in the previous slide we have the 16. Collect the big data from the AI will analyze the data for energy management in real times and with the accurate energy dispatch. So the main functions of the IE control center such as the big data analysis, monitoring, and diagnostic, grid optimization, etc., something like that. So to summarize, it means in the future, for the hydro floating solar hybrid, it should be eliminate limitation of the RE power, RE energy. So it means that they have to create more flexibility and stability in electricity generation. And is the enable high efficiency and availability of RE power. Should be enable predicting power generations. And the last one, the RE power plants can be managed by RE control center with one platform. Yeah, this is our ideas, and this is all of my presentation.
Hello, Ms. Nopato.
Yes, sir. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. For my story is very quite different from Mr. Tidet and Pinit. I would like to introduce just, are you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just would like to introduce some business model for all of you who involved with solar energy and also for some renewable energy. What I will say is not for today, but for, I think, not quicker than 5 or 6 years. Last 2 years is a very popular for peer-to-peer energy trading, but now there are put some limitation, like LO3 in New York. I met him. I met the staff of LO3 last year. They have already quit because of some limitation of the regulatory body. Okay. Anyway, today I would like to introduce just some business idea that last two years when we start the implementation of the peer-to-peer energy trading by the MOU between MEA, EGAT, and PA, we have implement some story about peer-to-peer trading with blockchain technology and already finished last year. And this morning we are talking about how to continue for the next future. Anyway, I will not mention about it for today. If you're interested, probably we can meet together later. But what I would like to talk today is can you see my slide?
Not yet.
Not yet. Why? What happened? What happened? Oh.
Do you need my help? Okay, fantastic.
Okay. You
Yes,
see?
here we go.
Okay. For my topic today, I would like to introduce you just only for some business model that last 2 years we don't know about how to make the money from this platform, but what we have implement according to our experience. But today I would like to show all of you about the 4 business model that you can make it like challenging in the future for renewable energy. Anyway, before going that, we will try to going back to the last few years. Last few years we have talking about many the growth in the distributed energy resources that that is the behind the meter item, from the generation, energy storage, inverter, electric vehicle, or control load. All of you have mentioned about it, even for the floating solar. This small scale of resources can be utilized not only to manage energy demand more efficiently, but also enable a significant mix of clean energy into the grid. And that will create a new player we call prosumer. All of you know, I think all of you know. And also we have found from the regulatory body that use the feed-in tariff as a tool for enable prosumer to participate in the energy trading. However, in the feed program, prosumer like a rooftop solar panel can sell their excess solar energy to the grid, but the marginal is quite low. Now you can see that some country have quit it, like some in Thailand. Let's go back. What will happen in the future? For this picture, I got from Leonard Energy in YouTube. I like it very much because it's so rare for 3 phases of energy transition from now on. Today, power systems are undergoing a fundamental transition due to the emergence of the distribution network prosumer, proactive consumer with renewable energy, and flexible energy resources that actively manage their consumption, production, and storage of energy. All of you know. Now, yesterday we have just only the centralized production of the energy, and electron have flow only in one direction. Today we have found that we have so many renewable energy resources, or even for some storage in the system, and increasing the number of the small thing like this system day by day. And we are forecast that tomorrow or in the near future there will be plenty of small system like that distributed in our distribution system, so that there will become a new opportunity to make money from the energy, like a small system that we call it a peer-to-peer electricity trading, so that the 3 companies for utility have joined together to develop some platform in order to study the impact of the system that will come. We don't know yet the story of this will come quick or slow, but we have already started, and we have done. We will extend the system for the next few years. What is the peer-to-peer energy trading? The peer-to-peer energy trading is directly the buying and selling of the electricity between both consumer and prosumer. It is not passed immediately. No intermediary, and no intermediate process. The buyer and the consumer can agree together by the platform. Peer-to-peer trading has emerged as the next generation energy management technique for smart grid. that can enable prosumer to actively participate in the energy market, either by selling their excess energy or by reducing the demand of energy via the negawatt, like a demand response that you have mentioned about. At the same time, peer-to-peer energy trading is also expected to help the grid by reducing peak demand, lowering reserve requirement, and curtailing network loss. Thailand regulatory bodies are in the process to allow industrial solar rooftop power producer to connect to the national electricity grid to get access to the blockchain power peer-to-peer trade of renewable energy by the announcement of the regulatory sandbox project recently, last year. This may open the floodgate to the substantial investment in solar rooftop development or even other source of renewable energy in the future. So trading in a peer-to-peer network is challenging because now peer-to-peer energy trading offer a new strategy for integrating prosumer into the electricity market while providing transparency, autonomy, and scalability. The extension of communications and the automation to the individual consumer level opens the possibility for peer-to-peer platform that enable prosumer to negotiate energy transaction directly with one another and with upstream electricity market participants. However, you have to know that three factors make the market amenable to peer-to-peer trading. First of all, the system should not have any, or should have low economy of scale, not the same as the vertical integration like the big power system. And the demand should have a variability and diversity, because some will be the prosumer, some will be the consumer. You have to have a diversity of demand. And the last one is the ability to efficiently match small scale buyer and seller that can be helped by the development of the platform or using disruptive technology in the future. And also the existing market arrangement, like in Thailand, that is not an enhanced single buyer market. That is or in electronics belong to state government, are not set up to incentive or facilitate localized coordination between distributed energy resources owned by individual prosumer. However, local renewable generation sources are challenging. The assumption that large centralized power plants have a definitive economy of scale advantage for energy production, and also with the variable renewable resource and flexible load embedded in distribution network. It is increasingly important for transaction to account for local condition and constraint. This means if the system comes through and if the government allow to do this kind of business, now some people will talking about is will not good for the power system, but in some country that have proved for this kind of platform that when you use more renewable energy, you make a new way of the control of the local condition and constraints so that you can solve the problem for the system nowadays. Last one I would like to introduce you is 4 different business models that can be used to support by peer-to-peer trading. That's as I mentioned, last 2 years when we implement the system, we don't know what kind of business model that we can implement. We mix together and we try to solve the problem and choose the best as we have experience. But nowadays we have grouping the business model as 4 business model. The first one is the behind the meter trading. The second one is the local flexibility, and the third one is the multi-class energy trading, and the last one is the federated power plant formation or virtual power plant. Let me introduce one by one. The first one behind the meter trading is that we have many companies who involve or participate in the peer-to-peer trading platform, or development company in like information technology. Know it's quite well is the behind the meter trading, but this is different, some different. What you have seen, there is some supplier we call is virtual net metering. That means that in the network you can see in the lower part. Try to. Can you see my PowerPoint? Okay. Okay. For this part of the system is like we call it microgrid, something like that, and we have some supplier here, and we get it at a virtual net metering. That means a new arrangement of the retail electricity market. In some country there is just only some test bed, and some country will not allow yet. This introduce the virtual net metering for retail electricity market to improve the utilization of the local renewable energy generation and flexible energy resource like electric vehicle or energy storage. Under this arrangement, group of prosumers are charged according to their combined net energy demand rather than their individual meter demand, so that under the retail energy contract, prosumers are generally paid less for excess supply than they are charged for the demand, since their generation is not considered to be dispatchable in the wholesale energy market. Therefore, when meter as a group, prosumers have an incentive to sell excess renewable energy generation to other prosumers with flexible load and storage system rather than exporting to upstream through their supply. This is one way to solve the problem that when we use the renewable energy, why you try to sell out of your local system? You choose sell inside your local system because you use the distributed energy resource. You use the decentralized system while you try to find the willing charge. This is the one solution of the willing charge. Another behind the meter trading characteristic is a peer-to-peer energy trading platform have a key role to play in this by providing a negotiation mechanism to arrange prosumer-to-prosumer transaction. And the virtual net metering can be implemented in building and development with privately owned distribution infrastructure. So it is because extended to distribution network. One of the example is distribution network in France. Use this one, and also some in, I will not mention in the detail because I never go to see it. The second business model is local flexibility. In short, this system is used for the Iceland microgrid or distribution network, like local that have a local demand constraint. We use this one to stabilize the security of the system, and with the if we have some constraint from the distribution system, we can use this kind of business model. With a constraint on the net energy import, local generation and energy storage become more valuable. If local flexibility market can elevate the need for investment in the network reinforced prosumer, can also benefit through lower network charge. And for off-grid applications such as rural microgrid in the developing world, Sharing flexible resources can significantly improve security of supply. The third business model we call the multi-class energy trading. Peer-to-peer trading offers the potential for prosumers to expect energy preference beyond purely financial one, related to where their energy comes from and how it generated. Suppliers already use the renewable energy certificate scheme to offer green retail supply option. So REC are also used by corporations to meet the social responsibility obligation. So that if we implement this kind of platform, we can use as in order to make the transparent certificate of the production of the renewable energy. Peer-to-peer REC trading could be done without significant regulatory change, and could expand REC from the megawatt-hour level to the kilowatt-hour level. Also, peer-to-peer REC could vary in multiple dimensions, such as generation technology, location, and certifying agency. This kind of platform have implemented in some in Vanderbron in Netherlands and in Picromat in the UK. The last one is, as I mentioned, as a virtual power plant, or we call it federal power plant formation. In this platform, peer-to-peer energy trading offers a new mechanism for incentivizing coordination between prosumers that may be willing to provide some flexibility, but are not willing to give up complete control to a virtual power plant aggregator, and facilitating the formation of cooperative federated power plant. Offer another business model for peer-to-peer energy trading platform. And this will provide a transparent mechanism supporting negotiation between system operator at the different level of the power system and the group of the prosumer, which could operate together to provide flexibility service. And you can see this, I have mentioned on this page of my slide that this kind of business model can help both in the transmission system operator to cooperatively coordinating distributed energy resources to provide like frequency regulation in the ancillary service or reserve service for TSO or transmission level, or also provide the value to the distribution system operator to help to manage the local thermal or voltage constraint limit. And also, this kind of business model can use like a group of prosumers with complementary resources and share listed energy directly in the wholesale market or in the bilateral contract with the large supplier and generator. That is all of the business model that I would like to just only introduce, and if you interest, you can continue to make some study and implement some kind of the business model, and this will come true in the near future. Anyway, last year the Office of the Energy Regulatory Commission of Thailand, or ERC, has announced 34 projects that will be implemented under their regulatory sandbox campaign that include major energy players from both the private and public sector, like PTT or BCPG. One of the project category is the peer-to-peer energy trading and bilateral energy trading. However, what I have seen, they are implemented just only in two forms. The first one is the solar rooftop owner sell the excess electricity to main grid. That is some part that I mentioned in the 4 business model. And the second one, as the aggregator sell the excess electricity in the main grid, like that is also a small part, as I mentioned. So I would like to introduce this kind of business model, and if many study about this kind of business model, I hope that the world of renewable energy will be extended more and more, and make our world more cleaner than today. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you for attention. Okay.
Sorry, Nopado, have you
Yeah.
finished of your presentation?
Yeah, already finished. Yeah.
Sorry, I just started
Sorry.
speaking with my colleague.
Yeah.
Thank you for your wonderful presentation, and we will leave your time at the Q&A session when we finish all of our speakers' presentation. Okay, before our next presentation, I would like to continue our last first video, okay? And I hoping this time we can running well. So let's enjoy the video online. Okay, this time. Oh, perfect. Goodwill, your solar engine. Fantastic. I don't know if you guys enjoy. Oh, sorry. I don't know if you guys enjoy the video just now, but I must say I'm enjoying the video like Hollywood, you know. Fantastic. Ron, are you ready to start up your presentation now?
Yeah, sure. Very good.
Here we go.
Yeah. Can you see the slides?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Yeah, thanks, Jessica. And yeah, I did enjoy the video, and also it makes my presentation much easier. So everybody has an idea, you know, who Goodwill is and what we, you know, but we are not the video maker, you know, we are indeed the inverter maker, producer, and we are also the solution provider for the end-to-end solar, like, let's say, you know, just like what we, the title that you are seeing on the screen, Sew Up Your Solar Engine. Particularly, I think today we are talking about the application in the floating market. And here I just give you a quick view on who Goodwill is and the profile. And Goodwill, we are basically producing the inverters. We are really focused on the technology innovation. We have more than 200 R&D staff working in 3 places, one in Suzhou, nearby Shanghai, another in Shenzhen, also center of the electronic technology. And the other, we have JV in Australia, very focused on the smart energy storage solution. So we are having 2 plants. One is in Suzhou, another one even more spacious, located in Guangdong, also a very beautiful place. And we are providing customer quite comprehensive portfolio. Of course, as we always concentrate on the technology, and we also register more than 130 patents. In just another news for you guys, actually at the beginning of next month, we are already registered in the main stock market in China, so we will be public listed in China. So which gonna provide us a much more sustainable growth, poised for the future development. So just quickly an overview on our market share. We are in the China, we have in the distributed PV #1 position for a few years in a row. And we also quite active in worldwide as well, like Australia. We have been the #1 out of all the Chinese vendors. In Europe, in Netherlands, in Turkey, we all are on the top 3. Then, you know, even in the Southeast Asia, we are on the top 4. In India, we are on the top 3. In Sri Lanka. Even today, we are much more extending our footprints in South America as well. So we are getting quite good orders from the big customer in Brazil and Mexico. So our mission actually is to go, you know, unlike some of the normal Chinese company, we really go globalized, but we also quite go localized as well. So we set up the global presence almost in each corner of the world. Even in, you know, Europe alone, we have UK, Turkey, Netherlands, Germany. We set up the local subsidiaries. We have people spread over Europe. We also have our own company in Korea and Australia. So we also have the local team covering South Africa and also South America. So one thing I just want to highlight that, you know, we, because our quite outstanding achievement on the inverter development for the hybrid, we have been ranked as the #1 hybrid storage inverter supply by Wood Magazine last year. This, you know, what we have delivered the last year was even more than the total number of the hybrid inverter developed by all the other Chinese vendors. I think that's really a remarkable achievement. And of course, you know, we are also ranked as a top 4 position by IHS for all the 3-phase string inverter. And also, you know, overall in terms of total revenue, we have been ranked top 7 by Wood Magazine and Bloomberg, respectively. So just outlining a few milestones in the history of GoodWe. We set up in 2010. You know, it's just 10 years growth. Even though it looks a bit short, but you know, every step we move forward, you know, got a very solid footprint on each year. You can see us, we have been almost the first one who have launched the hybrid inverters in the industry. We got quite rich experience of you know, getting the products and solution in the field, and accumulated quite a lot of experience from all the failures, from, you know, all different testings. We also focus on the efficiency enhancement. That reason why we see our products on the 3-phase and also single-phase product improved quite significantly across the years. Just to highlight another thing, that we are the only vendors by TÜV Rheinland, you know, got the getting the quality award 5 years in a row for different products for both string inverter hybrid. This is another, you know, thing that we quite proud of. Here's something, you know, like 10 years lifespan products, and then you know, we got the top brand awarded by EUPD. So one product we are now just about to launch to the market. Also, we got the red dot design, which is, you know, one of the major quite top design award by Germany in the year before, you know, in the exhibition in Munich. So just give you some project reference here. So this is one of the project we have built up in Thailand for the airbase. You see the picture, even you don't see the inverter, but you know, we are just hiding behind. We all using our MT series, one of the key products in the past, as the to support like a brain of the system. And also in China, we have a quite major product in Shanxi province. We also have quite a significant reference in Netherlands and Turkey. So these are all ground mounted. And then we also quite, we are quite performing on the CNI. You can see in South Korea, in Brazil, you know, there's a lot of rooftops that we use our string inverter to build up the energy storage solution, and also you know, the normal PV system. Look at the global partnership and the user that we have been, you know, working together. We are working, you know, just mentioned, we working with IKEA, you know, quite actively in the Europe. We also work with the giant Tata in India. And in Europe, we also have the very solid global partnership with the distributor like Chronic and IBC, very much focused on the for German market. We also use our inverter on the rooftop of the Coca-Cola in different places. So basically, we are having more and more partners around the world. Just like just to highlight two things. On the battery side, we're working with the BYD. Which is our the powerhouse on the battery supply, and also Panasonic. We have delivered thousands of units worldwide. And another thing, just want to highlight, we also now has been awarded by GE, having selected as the exclusive license provider inverter supply for GE worldwide. So this is also a strong endorsement of Goodwi's past achievements and also the performance of products, which also lay the foundation for us to launch the different new products in the world. And as I mentioned, we do have quite comprehensive portfolio covering each segment of application, like a residential CNI, utility. We also, quite active on the storage, particularly on the residential storage at this moment, and it's going to be extended to the CNI up to 50 kilowatt as well. So I will introduce a little bit more in the next slides. So on the CNI, I think it's a really a brilliant portfolio that people can consider to using on different scenario. Like MT series, it's from in the range from 50 kilowatt to 80 kilowatt right now. It supports the different voltage, and also it supports bifacial modules, particularly when you use the panels on the floating system. I think the bifacial module with a very high efficiency might be a good choice. I think you can also definitely adapt to the MT series. And the new products we are launching to the market in 1 month also is the HT, we call HT series. This is also a very, very strong portfolio supporting 10 PPT to 12 MPT, covering from 100 kilowatt to 120 kilowatt. And also the new one going to be for the to support the 1500 watts will be around 250 kilowatt. That will be the perfect portfolio for the utility side. And these are certificates. I think back to Thailand. Thailand, as the gentleman has been addressed before, has been one of the key market in the past for to lead the Southeast Asia for CNI and also for big utility. And we have done the testing and got the certification for both MEA and PEA for the MT series products. So I just would like to have a small case study, for MT series, located in South Korea, which is quite close to the sea, to have some of the case sharing with all of you, how it could be further used for the floating projects. This is 1 megawatt. We use 60 kilowatt MT. And here is just a short comparisons in terms of the BOS reduction, versus the string inverter versus central inverter. I think there could be a lot of arguments that central, which one could be better, but we see globally the string inverters has much more size. In terms of application, and we can also see even for the ground-mounted utility, like a 1 gigawatt project, people now starting to use just string inverters. I think, you can definitely get saving on the DC combiner box, even on the foundation of some of the civil works. And also in terms of the OPEX, because it's going to be much more flexible when you use string inverters, and you got more guarantees on the safety and also exchange on the repair. So these all are, in my view, somehow the intangible assets for the operators, for developers to take into account when you design your work. In terms of the mounting methods, it's also flexible. You can have this wall mounted. You can also see the mounting with the shield. So it can lead to very less investment on the construction and installation. And also it will be reflected as one of the key features and for the inverters. I think often you have mismatching PV string, like a shading, covering, different configuration. Then it finally endangers the generation of PV system. Then, without MT, like 4 MPPT or HT up to 12 MPPT, it will significantly reduce or bring more generation, Then it's when you do the EPC design, then you always have to consider the performance ratio. You consider your investment as well. So the 50 DC oversizing and 10% AC overloading will absolutely bring you more yields. And here's also something you are seeing in the market. You see different types of higher power modules more and more, and that means the current for the inverters. You also need to back it up, and we are seeing that in the past 12.5 amps still was a mainstream, but in the future definitely the 15 amps will be somehow the guarantee to match with the growth of the modules. So RHT can be the right choice to support this large current. And people, I think, when people talking about PID, particularly when you over nearby the ocean or you are even on the water, the PID is something you see very often. Kind of a very unique philosophy that you see. People, the panel suppliers are trying to do things PID free. However, I think essentially the PID could be resolved by the right inverter. And for GoodWe, we do have the PID option. And then this is just, during the night, it can automatically do the startup to do this DC offset voltage between the inverter and the ground in order to increase the potential between the PV and the ground. That means, you basically balance the positive to repair the PID effect. Therefore, subsequently, it can recover the performance of PV panels. Of course, strong backup on the cover. We have IP66 design on the key components like fans and so on and so forth. We have even IP68. So it's really waterproof. Of course, the cabinet, die casting cabinet, it's not only just looking very beautiful, but it's also quite strong. It can withstand the salt spray. We did the testing for even 500 hours in a row. Then, in terms of all the protections, and we have AC terminal temperature monitoring. We also have internal humidity monitoring. that give you the kind of double guarantee. Then when you get system gets some wrong, we can give you the heads up alert, so that you can do something, the maintenance proactively. Of course, the cooling, particularly if you look at the Southeast Asia, like Thailand, it's quite hot, it's quite humid. In order to maintain the best yield across the year, you have to make sure that you have the best temperature performance. So our inverter, the power derating threshold for the MT series, it can also do the full load operation at the 50 degree. So it's also quite amazing features for customers. Then here's also comes to a quite critical point. People normally ignore the communication part when you just do the design. But it is really, again, it's critical and also can help you to do take some measures very proactively. And we are now also already doing the Powerline Plc Communication. It's already version 2. The speed is very much faster. It guarantees that when you do like IV curve or upload, it could be happening in a very prompt manner. And also you gonna have good user experience when you connect to our smart energy management system portal. We also are developing the Bluetooth configuration. It also gonna make your installation and configuration much more convenient. So here is also the fundamental feature that we are providing from our inverter and also our SEM monitoring system. We can provide you the string level monitoring. We also work with some of partners, even can provide you on the panel level monitoring, which gives you another new feature that when you look at the different options during the construction, people can choose, just as per the menu. And then also going to be very easy for the future evolution to the smart energy solution. So that's basically what I introduced in this presentation, and thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Rongshen. Thank you so much. So we jump to our next speaker, Mr. Moon. Mr. Moon? Or
Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Moon. Can you start with your presentation now?
Yeah, Jessica. So this is Valen here. So I had a conversation with Moin. So I think it would be better for us to swap the sequence, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Sure. So I will start with my presentation, and then we will follow with Moin's presentation. Yeah. Okay, starting my video. Share my screen now. All right, can you see my screen? Can everyone see my screen? Yep. Okay, great. Yep. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jessica, as well, for organizing this webinar. It's really enlightening to hear from the rest of the speakers that came before us. Really nice to hear, firstly, about the development of renewable in Thailand, and of course on the floating development in Thailand as well. So that's helpful. And of course, it's good to hear about the inverter technology from Mr. Rongshen as well. So what I will kind of try to do here is to maybe put everything together And we will present, at least on my end here, I will present more on the CNI energy solutions for Thailand and cover a bit of Southeast Asia as well, because we know that the energy solutions is very scalable and duplicatable to the rest of the region. So it's not very specific to Thailand, but we'll touch a bit on Thailand as well. Yeah. So my name is Valen. I am the Business Development Manager for BayWa RE. I will go into a bit of the introduction of the company later on. Yeah. But first and foremost, I'll dive straight into the core material of the presentation. I'd like to talk a bit about the market first, and then we slowly lead towards the main message that we will try to deliver here, which is really CNI and solutions that is available in the market right now, and how it's going to drive solar progression in Thailand going to the future. Yeah. So we see and we hear from the earlier speakers pretty much what we saw here on the first slide already. Pretty much talking about the PDP plan for Thailand and having a target of 10 gigawatts of additional rooftops and ground mount system, and the timeline here is 2037. And of course, the other speakers also talk about the ADP. So we expect to see about 15 gigawatts by 2037 as well. Where Thailand is currently now is at 3.5 gigawatt estimate, plus and minus, right? So I mean, if you can see that there's a long way to go. It's a very ambitious target, and the industry needs to have a plan on how to reach that target. And if you look at the chart, that's typically the roadmap and the progression and the expected forecast on how renewable energy and solar implementation in Thailand is going to be like going to the future. So if we look at this target of 2037, 10 gigawatts, and we can actually determine it to be at around 100 megawatts per year. Later on, you will see that we actually need to achieve 100 megawatts per year on distributed generation and CNI rooftops to be able to get us to where we are or where Thailand wants to be in their target setting. So the challenges here is that even with this big target, the market and the industry doesn't see a lot of ground mount utility projects that will take off in the future. What this means is that basically CNI and distributed generation will have to lead the way. So if you look at the chart, that is the forecast by Wood Mackenzie. If you look just 5 years ahead to 2025, you see that there's a lot of expected additional capacity from medium to small scale projects. Yeah. So if you look there, anything from 20 kilowatts to 5 megawatts, that's pretty much the core, yeah, the core of the contribution from the industry that we expect, and the industry will expect. Which is why all this discussion here today and our presentation here is really to talk about the CNI opportunities, the solution that is available to corporates today, because ultimately corporates and CNI will be the main driver, yeah, for achieving the renewable energy targets for Thailand, not only for Thailand, but also in the region as well. We are seeing more and more of this kind of trends where CNI and corporate clients are kind of driving the initiative and moving the renewable energy goals of countries. Yeah. A little bit more into Thailand, just touch a bit more about the CNI opportunities. We mentioned earlier, 100 megawatt per year is a very conservative number. We need to at least meet 100 megawatt a year of distributed generation addition to meet the targets. The great thing about this is CNI solar and DG projects are economically viable at this moment. So if you look at on-site projects, we are typically talking about rooftop projects. And of course, here today, we are talking about floating solar as well in this webinar. So the beauty of this all is that in Thailand at the moment, economically, it is very, very feasible. Yeah. So a lot of the CNI projects, on-site projects, doesn't require any additional incentives from the government at this point, because they by themselves are already economically feasible. The industry focus 5 to 6 gigawatt potential of CNI solar. You can see there the immense potential, yeah? And we really have to do a lot more to capture this potential. However, there's not to be without any challenges. Of course, we in the industry we understand that currently there's still no net metering available for CNI projects. Of course, net metering is currently only available for residential, but for CNI, where we expect the bulk pick up to be, unfortunately, this policy is still not available. But that does not deter us from having a solution for the CNI customers, because currently we can do projects on a self-consumption model. Yeah, and going into the future, if the net metering policy picks up, and of course, I think Kun Nopado talked about the P2P energy trading earlier. So I think with these two mechanisms coming into play, this can only be better for the industry as a whole going forward. We'll see there the solar economics of distributed generation keeps going down. There's always a case for more and more CNI adoption in Thailand. The LCOE will come down. Currently, it's about basically that number that you see there is a forecast from Wood Mackenzie as well. So it's 9 cents. In a few years' time, we are looking at something close to a reduction of 16%. But we actually are more aggressive in our forecast. We actually expect to see more aggressive reduction. In fact, at this point of time, as we are providing solutions to clients and customers and corporates, we do see that we are kind of reaching that kind of number pretty quickly. So after this meeting, we can always have a conversation about how we can help you to achieve your renewable energy goals. Looking at Thailand, the potential for solar is pretty much concentrated on the Eastern Economic Corridor, or what we call the Eastern Seaboard of Thailand, and that's pretty much where a lot of the industries are. Yeah? A lot of the warehouses, the factories, the manufacturing plants are. And you can see that most of the potential solar addition for CNI will be pretty much concentrated within the top 3 provinces that we listed there: Chonburi, Chachoengsao, and Bangkok. Again, this is another case where we think could be a great driver of solar adoption in Thailand. So when we think about solar, we tend to want to take a very long-term view. Here we are taking a 20 to 25 years view of the price of electricity, simply because we understand that a solar asset has a life cycle of 25 years as a standard, but it can go up to 30 years, for example. So taking a long-term view, you see that electricity prices in Thailand is going up at a 2.5% rate. What we think is that with reducing component cost and at the same time long-term increasing tariff costs, we do see solar as a very viable and feasible alternative or solution for corporates going forward. Basically, to help corporates to reduce costs mainly. That's on the cost reduction portion. Here on this chart here is just a brief overview to the audience. Why is there a huge drive in corporate initiative today? Why is there a big movement in corporates going into renewable energy and wanting to achieve some kind of renewable energy goal. You see there on the screen a whole list of multinationals and large international companies coming together to form the RE100 companies. So each of these member companies, they have very specific goals, RE goals, and they set themselves timeline as well by when they should be achieving those goals. Because of all these commitments and initiatives, you see a lot of drive and interest from corporates today, and which is why it's very important for Thailand and also for the private sector as a whole to be able to provide some form of renewable energy solutions to corporates in the region. Some drivers of the initiatives by corporates, I think most of us would be very aware. It's basically driven by a few key initiatives. Here we list 4 initiatives. Main one, of course, is very important to most of the corporates. The first thing that they come to look at when they consider solar is lower cost, which is true. It's definitely possible to reduce your cost now with the significantly reducing component cost and the ability for developers and investors like ourselves to offer low energy costs, renewable energy costs to corporates. And then of course you have the topic of public perception and branding. A lot of the international companies nowadays, they do see a lot of demand from their consumers who are becoming more environmentally conscious. So they unconsciously demand that corporates that they are buying from adopt a environmentally friendly policy. And they want to be able to see that large international corporates play a role in helping climate change and setting a goal, setting a commitment for achieving a certain level of environmental sustainability policy. So all this is what is contributing to this huge movement today globally. When it comes to solution, typically we look at main thing, a few solutions here, different business models. Of course, on the very traditional business model is what we have is investment. Investment would refer to corporate simply expanding their own investment and capex in procuring their own solar system. So this is the most straightforward business model where the corporate would buy and own the system and they would hire a turnkey EPC contractor, for example, to deliver the system for them. On the other side, you have the different business models where they would request for a third-party investor or a developer and go into an agreement, go into a contractual agreement for an on-site PPA, a power purchase agreement. So in return, the investor and the developer will sign a long-term power purchase agreement with the corporate. Their commitment would be to deliver kilowatt hours to the corporate for say 20-25 years kind of lifetime. Here in Thailand, we are seeing shorter and shorter tenures. We are looking at 15 to 20 years kind of tenures as well. So that's something that's entirely possible. And what we can, or what the investors can usually guarantee is that the energy price that you pay for such a contract will always be lower than what you will pay if you were to buy from the utility themselves. So just a very quick comparison of the different business models again, and the different considerations on what corporates are looking for. So if you see there on the screen, we actually listed out some of the pros and cons of each and every one of these different business models, ranging from let's say, corporates wanting to be sustainable and they see a requirement to be positive image, they want to have a positive branding. So all these models actually give them the option. Whereas let's say if you go to the lower benefits, for example, if corporates do not want to be tied down with the operational cost or the expertise required to operate a solar asset, then they might not want to consider investing in the solar system themselves. In this kind of scenario, then possibly the more appropriate option or solution would be to look for an on-site PPA to sign a long-term power purchase agreement with an investor or a developer. So here at BayWa RE, we actually kind of work with the corporate to walk them through the options and the requirements of the individual corporates. So each and every one of the corporates have very specific needs. Everyone has different requirements. So a lot of times, this is what we will help the clients to go through, the corporates to run through, first by understanding their needs, and then we kind of walk them through what are the options available in Thailand and also in the region as well. That's before I end my presentation, we will quickly introduce the group, and then I'll pass on to my colleague who will go into a lot more detail concerning floating solar, which is also what we do in Thailand. But essentially, BayWa Group, we are a conglomerate, a German conglomerate based in Munich, Germany. We're listed on the German Stock Exchange. We have a very long history of presence. The BayWa Group is established in 1923, which means we have almost a 100-year history now. But typically, we started off traditionally as an agricultural company. Our core business, the BayWa Group AG, core business is still in agriculture. So we deal with agricultural trade, food trading, and we provide also technology for farming and production. So BayWa Group itself, we are pretty much involved in a whole list of supply chain that you can imagine, let's say, in the agriculture and food industry globally. Of course, coming in the middle is the energy arm, where we are talking to you from today. We are from BayWa RE, BayWa Renewable Energy. So we come under the energy division. So we are a global conglomerate, a global company that develops wind and solar power globally. In APAC, we have developed projects in the region as well, which I'll show you in a bit. In total, these are all global figures. We have over 3 gigawatts of installed capacity globally in wind and solar. And we have developed up to about 8.3 gigawatts of projects under management. So we do not only develop projects, we also help our clients to manage and operate their assets. Here's a very brief take on where we are. Essentially, we are present globally. We have huge presence in most of the markets where our clients and the major corporates are based, starting with Europe. And then here in APAC, we are present in most of the main markets. In Southeast Asia, we are present here in Thailand, in Bangkok, in Malaysia as well, Vietnam, Indonesia, and slightly going outside Southeast Asia, we are present in Korea, Taiwan, Japan, and Australia. Some of the projects that we have done globally, just a very quick snapshot. So in Thailand, we have accomplished this project, a 1 megawatt rooftop project with a packaging company, namely Tetra Pak. And that's more on the distributed generation side, CNI projects. But of course, we are also very strong, and being utility scale has always been our core segment. You'll see there that we have delivered projects in Malaysia, a total of about 45 megawatts of utility scale projects in Malaysia, and then a whole host of other projects utility size in Australia as well. So this is going a bit deeper into Tetra Pak in Rayong. This is what we have delivered for Tetra Pak. So we do have global cooperation with Tetra Pak. We are exploring for them projects not only in this region but also in Europe as well, where we have continuously delivered for some of the larger corporates as well, helping them to understand their options and running them through what are their renewable energy potential or solutions that may be available to them in different markets. This example will be more relevant to Europe because here we are talking about offsite PPA arrangement, where I think earlier Mr. Amenable was also talking about P2P. This is probably an extension to that, but maybe on a larger scale. But yeah, so in Asia Pac, in Southeast Asia, we are beginning to see that offsite policies are coming up, especially in countries like Vietnam and Malaysia as well. And hopefully, I think we will see a greater rollout in Thailand as well, maybe on the P2P side or even on the offsite arrangement where power wheeling is a possibility. But basically, here is just to show that we have done something similar for a large international corporate like AB InBev here. Everyone will be very familiar with the brand Budweiser. So we kind of do this large scale outside power wheeling project with them in Europe, where we power 14 of the breweries across Europe in different countries with a single plant that is located in Spain.
Hello, Valent. We should catch up our time. Yes, due to the time limited.
Yeah, so I'm done with my presentation, so I will pass it on to my colleague Moin to carry on. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Valent. Hi, Jessica. I will need to have hosting rights to share my screen. Thanks.
Jessica, can you enable the sharing for Moin?
Oh, yes. Yes. Moin, can you start to share your screen now?
I'll try. Yeah, it works now.
Okay.
All right. I hope you guys can see my screen. All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us here. It's great to hear from some of the industry leaders in Thailand today in this presentation. And thanks, Jessica, for organizing this and inviting us. So I'll keep it, my presentation is not very long. I'll try to keep it short, and I'll just go through a few points quickly. more or less focusing on the design and constraints of floating PV systems, particularly based on our experience that we've seen in Europe and also the projects we are currently working on in Thailand. So just a quick background on the similarities and differences. This is probably nothing new for people experienced in the field. So the differences between the conventional PV systems and floating PV is actually, there's not much. They're quite similar: electrical components, size, development process, documentation, and plant life. Everything is pretty much designed and worked on the same way. The key differences we see are actually mostly benefits. We don't need land, which is one of the major advantages of floating PV. You can always make additional revenue from existing water bodies. Then, of course, we don't need to do groundwork, no need to do steel foundations, and the system is more compact with higher energy density. And the construction of such plants are much faster. And decommissioning, which is not yet a big topic for PV projects because they're fairly new, but going in the long run, the end of life decommissioning is going to be much more simpler and easier. So floating PV is not a new technology, but just a new application. Some of the important parameters for selecting a water body. So things that we consider generally is the shape of the water body that we have, especially when it comes to small ponds. We have to check if we can work on standard blocks. That's how we do our designs. And if there's sufficient area available for setbacks, that's particularly important for cabling from the floats to the ground. We always consider providing passage for boats, which is a big deal in Europe, of course. And we have to consider the potential impact on marine life underwater. Activities around PV area, that's very important for safety. The systems should not be accessible by third parties, particularly if the system is in a public place, like public lakes, which is the case in many projects we see in Europe in general, not so much in Thailand at the moment. Walking connection between shore and floating PV are restricted unless it's private land. And boat crossings, again, when we work with public properties, we have to consider that we cannot block the passage for the general public to use. And fishing and recreation, that's quite restrictive when it comes to doing such or conducting such activities near high voltage systems. Water parameters itself is important, especially depending on the type of system you're using. If you're using steel-based systems, salt water is not really feasible. If you're using HDPE-based systems, then water parameters still need to be checked carefully. Contamination studies are required, and water level variations are very important, especially if you have a few meters variation in water depth throughout the year, or if it's a flood risk zone. We have to study these carefully and engineer the anchoring system accordingly as well. And other parameters are quite similar to ground mount systems. We have to avoid protection zones. Local wind speeds need to be checked. Soil suitability still needs to be checked because of anchoring. And we need, just like ground mount projects, laydown area, we need construction area on shore to assemble the floats. Anchoring is, of course, a crucial part of floating PV. So the concepts particularly depend on the type of lake or water body we have in the surroundings, and also the soil conditions like mentioned. BayWa, generally we focus on 3 different types of anchoring, actually 4. The 4th one is not here yet because we have not done it yet, which is the concrete sinkers. But generally, you'll see that most of the anchoring system we have has a weight at the bottom of the lake or the water body. That's always because we need to ensure that the cables are not sagging and impeding boats or other vehicles to pass by. So this is something we always look at when doing the designs. Basic design considerations for floating PV. We try to minimize the water contact footprint, so the water doesn't become stagnant. As you know, stagnant water is a key breeding ground for mosquitoes. Then high transparency, particularly if you use transparent modules or glass or even bifacial modules. Even though there's no major benefit for bifacials or no proven benefits, it can be helpful for marine life because light can pass through. Stable platforms are very important for O&M perspective, because when you're working on water with high voltage systems, it's very important that we provide our O&M personnel with a very safe and stable platform. And one more thing we always consider is the electrical safety and proper earthing and grounding of the systems, especially when we're designing them on water. As you know, metal parts in water with different potentials can make the electrode effect. So proper studies are required to do a proper grounding design before we design the projects. This is one of the case studies, actually not case study, I would say experience sharing from Sigdorn, one of our projects in the Netherlands. It was a 14.5 megawatt project where we had to face a few challenges. Some of them we've mentioned here. It was under HV lines, so we had to do special electromagnetic studies, and the HSE requirements from the local regulation was very strict. We had to do special anchoring because we could not go into the ground layers per our usual practice. So detailed studies needed to be done, and we had to come up with a wave breaker system because it was on a public lake, which we eventually used as an anchoring point as well. And this project had a very tight timeline of 8 weeks, which we could easily achieve. And in the next slides, we'll also show you one of our projects as a showcase. So this was the fourth project we built in the Netherlands. It was a 27.4 megawatt peak. At the time it was built, it was the largest floating PV project outside of China. And the project was built only in 7 weeks using 60 people during its peak time. So you can see the clear advantages of floating PV over traditional systems already going forward. And this can only keep getting better. So I'll just summarize quickly. Floating PV is actually a real contender now for conventional rooftop and ground mount systems. The key importance that we at BayWa, or my team, we place on is particularly on design, and we always consider the environment. Electrical installations on water, I think this is also covered by some of our other panelists, that there are no clear guidelines and regulations still, and not just in Thailand. Globally, there are no clear guidelines for floating PV, no safety standards really officially in place, which is being worked on at the moment. So it's best that we use our best practice engineering knowledge that's widely used in other applications in the industry and just place it here and consider the impact on marine life when we do the designs, and always optimize quality against quantity, because these plants actually have to survive for 25 to 30 years. All right, I'll end my presentation here. Hopefully you found it useful, and thanks everyone. And I see a lot of familiar faces and familiar names on the guest list. So thanks everyone for joining, and thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Moin. Thank you for your presentation. Jake, I think I have to leave the floor to you and to kick off our Q&A session. And before kick off our Q&A session, and there are a few questions to be answered in our Q&A section. So if you have interest, please to check at our Q&A session answer. So Jake, I leave my floor to you. It's time for you.
Great. Thank you very much, Jessica. First, a quick question for you, Jessica. How much time do we have left? So I couldn't hear you. I think you're mute. So I couldn't hear you because you're muted, but may I
Oh,
just
yeah.
go ahead?
Yeah, I muted myself.
Sorry.
Yeah, just I think we can, we just depends because there are a few questions to be answered at the Q&A session from Mr. Nopado, Mr. Patmid, and Mr. T-Date. So let's see if there are few questions from our attendees online.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think there's some very good questions, so why don't we just maybe go ahead and get started and see how it goes. And what I'll probably do is ask some of the questions in the order that they came up in the event today. So I'll start out really more on the EGAT side and the floating solar side, and then move a little bit more towards the prosumer distributed energy side, and probably put the questions out to whoever feels they'd like to speak or they'd like to answer those questions. I think one of the most important early questions came up on the presentation with the very good projects that EGAT's doing, the 2.7 gigawatts of floating solar. But one of the questions was, is there a role for the private sector? What's happening on floating solar outside of these EGAT projects? And I wanted to see if anybody would be available to answer that question.
Okay. Okay, I will answer this question. I think we try to explain to you for the proportions to 2,725 megawatt. Is this the EGAT portion? So it means we will develop by ourselves in the dams that EGAT belong to, something like that. It's not the cooperate with another private sector, yes. But in the maybe in the another reservoir in private sector, maybe they will develop by themselves, maybe for the self-consumption, something like that. It's not related to the PDP. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the PDP is developing the EGAT side, and
Yes,
the private
yes.
sector could do
Yes.
outside that. Great.
Yeah.
And while I have you on the line, and I guess there are others who could answer the question, but another set of questions comes around trying to understand the differences between floating solar and ground mount solar in terms of what are the cost differences, what are the O&M differences, what other considerations are there in developing a floating solar project versus a ground mount project?
Okay, I will answer in the EGAT side. The firstly, during development, we develop on the water surface. On the water surface, right? It means that we don't need to buy the lands to develop. Comparing with the ground mount, so ground mount have to construct on the land, right? The land should have this property, so EGAT can save this amount of money. And another thing is we develop close to the existing facility. It means that we use our own substations and use the transmission line, so we don't need to spend a lot of money to construct these things. So it means that we can reduce the cost for construction. Yeah, this is our advantage comparing with the private sector. Yes, and comparing with ground mount developments.
Okay, so there are lower costs from the land acquisition and the substation side, but some higher costs for the mounting and the floating devices. So on a per megawatt basis, what is the comparison on price? Is it similar to PV to ground mount? Is it, you think it's even cheaper than ground mount?
Let's say, our cost, maybe electricity cost is about 2.3 baht per unit. Yeah, 2.3 baht, something like that. It's not higher than this. Yes.
Okay, so still a competitive price. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Maybe what I'll do also then is ask if Moin is available to answer some similar questions. I know you're also involved in how the private sector sees that, and also ask a little bit about any prospects for development offshore in Thailand, or is all of the ground mount solar onshore?
You mean offshore floating PV systems, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And first,
Yeah,
I was
I
going
mean,
to see if you can answer the other questions about comparing some of the costs and comparing the development, and then please answer if there's any prospects. What you think about something in the Gulf?
Sure. So if we go back to the costing question, so floating in general is a little more expensive. As you know, the floats itself are slightly more expensive than the regular ground mount systems we see. And one of the key reasons the floats are expensive is also because of transport. Because when you actually transport these plastic floaters from the factory to site, or if you import them, we are actually bringing in air. So the containers are filled with the air, which is quite expensive. But we've seen the price trend coming down in the last few years. So it's moving towards the right direction, I would say. The cost gap has come down significantly, but it's still, I would say, in my view, it's still a little more expensive than the regular systems we look at. Particularly if you compare it to rooftop systems, it's way higher. For the second one, to be honest, we have not looked at the prospect of installing a floating system on saltwater yet, but it can be done. It has been done before. I don't see why not. The issues that we see is the wind speed withstanding capabilities, and anchoring on a seabed is not as easy as it would be on a private pond or a public lake inside Thailand or any other area inside a city. So there are challenges involved that we still have to overcome, and there's a lot of R&D works in progress at the moment. That's something we have not explored yet, but we are looking into it, and hopefully we'll see it happen in the future.
Okay, fantastic. And actually, one question just came up from the audience. I'll ask you quickly while I have you. In terms of a development time cycle, development construction time cycle, is there a big difference between that and land-based solar? Obviously, there's less land clearing and some advantages, but probably a lot more planning involved.
It's very similar, I would say. And to be honest, if you ask me, what we've seen so far is that, particularly in Thailand, I feel like it was faster, and construction is significantly faster. So you could probably save up to 50% of the construction time when you compare with typical ground mount systems. Rooftop may be similar, but compared to ground mount, it's definitely faster. And the whole development and permitting process is quite similar, at least here in Asia. In Europe, it's probably faster. Everything is a little faster in Europe when it comes to renewable energy, as you know, but yeah, so that's my view.
Great. I think we've also seen some incredible accomplishments in the region with Chinese and Indian developers able to produce giant sites in a huge amount of time and at very low cost. So there's a lot of capability here as well. I guess we look forward to that coming to Thailand. With that, I might go back and stick with one question at the EGAT level, and then maybe we can turn and look more at the CNI and prosumer side. You know, obviously there's a lot of talk in this event and everybody in the area about the PDP. I understand there's some revisions to the AEDP coming up. I want to see if someone at EGAT just could speak to help the audience understand the process, where we are in the PDP planning process, if there are any other developments coming out on either the PDP or the AEDP.
I mean, okay, I will answer your questions. I mean, now the PDP is under review and including AEDP as well. So I just say you just only the short word is mean is under reviews, and maybe in the future they will launch the PDP, the new revision. So now I cannot say because maybe you know this is the top level and some policy. Yeah. Just say only this is under review. Yeah.
Okay, but so now we know as much as you do that there's some plans that we can expect some changes, but it's not clear when that will happen.
Yes. But we hope the EGAT portion will the same. We add more some megawatt. Yeah.
And do you see any changes? Is there, can you look into a crystal ball and see any future, or is it all just wait and see?
I hope, okay, I come from the renewable department, so we hope we can add more some megawatt in renewable energy, something like that. So, and the for the floating solar maybe should be the maintenance 2,700 megawatts. So another thing I don't know.
Okay, great. Sure.
I see. Yes.
I think this is the way it always is with the PDP. For many years, a PDP comes out, it's revised. People are trying to figure out what happens next, and there's not always a clear answer. So thank you for your update and the insight on that. I think that's very helpful for the audience. So as I mentioned, turning more towards some of the consumer side issues here, one of the big issues around the region, around the world, is direct corporate PPAs, the ability of primarily industrial commercial users to buy across the meter. And that feeds into some of the questions about trading and so forth, electricity trading. Maybe I can ask if anybody from EGAT or the BayWa side would like to comment on what is the status of corporate PPAs? What's the Thai vision for trading really across the meter? Do you think that's something that's moving forward? Can we expect something in that in the near term? Is that really one more thing for the future? Does anybody have any visibility on the corporate PPA or the trading side? I know MEA was going to be here, but anything?
MEA has no experience with the corporate PPA, yeah. Even though for the production of electricity, no experience.
So do you think
from my opinion, they have some corporate PPA in the Eastern Seaboard, like between some factory in the Eastern Seaboard and GPSC or BICRIM, and also some corporate PPA in the MEA system for SPP. But I'm not sure that is the same meaning as you mentioned or not.
Right. I suspect some of those are done either under a regulatory sandbox or through the existing utility provision contracts that a GPSC or others have. And I think as far as I understand, we're still waiting for or hoping for some reforms or changes that allow a broader regime.
One of the regulatory sandbox I have seen try to sell electricity from one school to the commercial building. Yeah. But anyway, in the detail, I don't know. Yeah. But I know for the overview of the project. But in the detail, you should know that as I mentioned about the business model, last 2 years when we implement the blockchain platform, we don't know anything about the business model. We do it as our instinct. Yeah. Okay. But now I have seen that there are many opportunities for business model I have mentioned. There are many opportunities as this morning I tell EGAT and tell PA that even for the sharing of the loss, we can make some reconcile with the consensus mechanism of the blockchain. We have many opportunities to make a research and development in the software platform, but not directly for the selling for tomorrow, but for the next decade, I think so, because the blockchain has some limitation of the technical point, like the transaction per second is not too much. If we want to sell the electricity as near real time, so that there are many data have to come in and process with the blockchain. It's too slow now. as some platform use Ethereum, it's just only can process within 30 transactions per second. That is too slow. For our platform, we use the Tendermint blockchain. We can process. We have made sure that we can process within for the whole 1,000 point of the buying and selling point between EGAT and MEA and EGAT and PEA, we can handle for the whole. But and we will try to make it next year. Okay, good. Well, that's helpful. One of the questions was when can we expect peer-to-peer networking, peer-to-peer sales, and I was hoping, I think all of us would love to have an answer for that, but maybe the best we can say is it's coming up. I have said that no market now. Yeah, that's right. Well, but anyway, after the regulatory sandbox, probably there will happen something like when you do something with no regulation now, or you deregulate something, and you found some opportunity that if you install the solar rooftop and if you cannot release the electron to the system, that is useless system. So I think that after the proof of the regulatory sandbox, that should have some opportunity for this kind of platform. Great, hope so.
Yeah, if I may comment here, sorry, just I mean, it's some information might be relevant here. In China, it used to be the red line. People you are not able to selling from the generation of your own factory or residential rooftop to the other. But now the policy is becoming open up, and then in some of the provinces we already have the effective ways to sell. We call it to sell from the neighbor. Sell the electricity from your neighbors. I think, but the key thing that you need to have a viable solution of storage in between. And we are seeing this also in other countries such as, Australia. We are really doing the VPP, working with some utilities to enable this selling, getting the electricity stored, and you are within the one community, you are able to sell electricity from one to another. And also in the States, I think, in Hawaii, we also deliver some part of storage system. But the concept is similar, but it's not exactly VPP, but it's like, the full DC link system that you go for like a one village or the other, they still can manage to sell between each other. I think definitely, I think that the storage going to play a very important role in the whole system in order to support this new business model going forward. I think just give you some of the maybe relevant cases here.
Very interesting. I agree.
Great. Thanks. So why don't we turn and start to wrap up, turn and look at CNI. As the very good Baywa presentation and others mentioned, Thailand is moving ahead with there's now commercially viable solar rooftops that have developed rapidly. I think we're probably heading towards 1 gigawatt within the next year or so of installed capacity. As the Baywa presentation mentioned, there's several gigawatts more to go. I think this has been an immature market that's gotten more mature. A few years ago, there were dozens of developers. I think now we're starting to see some more professional developers come in, a more professional, modern approach to the sector. I wanted to see if anyone who has an insight into the Thai CNI sector can give us sort of a snapshot on where they see Thai CNI right now, where it's moving, what are the any key points that the audience should know about?
Yeah, Jack, so sorry, I think there's some technical issue here. Yeah, so with regards to the CNI sector, I think we presented earlier as well. it's very economically viable at the moment and very feasible at the moment. If you compare it to the region, if you compare it to other countries in the region, currently Thailand stands by itself in terms of economic feasibility of solar rooftop and CNI paybacks for corporate clients, simply because I think the energy prices, the utility energy prices in Thailand is kind of presenting that as a case, as a viable case. Prices are going high, and at the same time as well, I think there's enough players in the market. So I mean, there's sufficient competition in the market. So also, I would say sufficient experience also in the market to kind of deliver projects at cost-effective levels, thereby directly translating to, for example, a viable and feasible project from a commercial angle. Even if you're just looking at turnkey projects where corporates will invest in the project's payback period is really quite attractive to corporates, even if we are comparing it to other countries in the region. On top of that, if corporates are looking at an OPEX model where they don't have to invest anything up front, even that it's very attractive, I feel, because there's a substantial savings to be had from such a model as well. Yeah.